Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Club. This is the place everyday real estate investors gather to share their best stories, biggest insights, and favorite tactics to grow a portfolio of cash flowing properties in today's market. Here's your host, Gabe Peterson.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody. It is perennially Friday here on the Real Estate Investing Club because that is when we record these episodes. So we're bringing that Friday energy to you guys. It's cloudy here in Seattle. It was supposed to be sunny. I have a golf tournament tomorrow, and so I'm hoping this weather changes a little bit. We got Michael Bell with us on the show today. It's going to be a good one because Michael knows what he's talking about when it comes to selling real estate. We don't often have agents on the show, but Michael has a ton of information to share with us. He is a top 0.3% of the Sotheby's International Realty agents. So that's less than 1% top. That's higher than a top 1% in Sotheby's. So Michael's done a ton of transactions. He has, a lot to share. So I wanted to bring him on the show. Michael, thank you very much for hopping on.
Thanks, Gabe.
Absolutely. I told you before you got on here, we always like to start with stories and hear kind of how people's evolution of their career went and how they got into real estate. So why don't you take us back to the beginning of your story in real estate and just kind of tell us, how'd you get to where you are?
It's really sad. I just kept getting laid off from all these jobs back in the 90s after I went to Gonzaga, and it was horrible. And I just couldn't make enough money to move out of the house. And so finally, I was seeing. I noticed that investors that were flipping houses in Pasadena, and I thought I could do that. I mean, these folks aren't that smart. So I went out. I borrowed some money from my grandfather, and we did a few dozen homes. We were buying houses. This is the old days. Homes were selling. I remember in Pasadena, in Altadena, that's where I'm at. There were always at least 100 homes under $100,000. And I know there's parts of the country where that's maybe
Pasadena.
Still the case.
And those are now worth $1 million, I'm sure.
The average sales price in Pasadena, here we are in the middle of 2024, is about $1,450,000. I wish I held on to all of those homes, but anyways, it is what it is.
That is crazy.
So I was flipping those, and then I didn't really care for the agents that were out there, and I thought I could do a better job. So I got my broker's license, and then I had brokers approach me and say, "We really like your style. We really like the way you work and how you market and talk to people. Can we join you?" And I kind of thought, well, that's interesting. Sure. So by my late 20s, I was by far the youngest practicing broker in Pasadena. I remember going to one of the board association meetings, and I was stopped at the door, and they said, "This is only for managers and owners." And everybody there was over.
This is for the adults. You go to the back room.
Yeah, go get in the back. Yeah, so that was kind of fun.
That's funny. Yeah, that's awesome, especially that you did it at such a young age. So, I mean, you mentioned that people liked your style, people liked how you worked. What was it that made you a good agent from the beginning?
What's funny is I always kind of thought that a successful realtor needs to be the stereotypical cheesy realtor, fast-talking BS artist a little bit. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't mean to rip on my profession. And a lot of that is still in this profession. And I always thought to myself, I'm going to fail at this. I never thought I would do very well. I think I'm a very straight talker. I'm a believer in understanding scripts and knowing what to say to people. And I'm a data guy. I like data. So I'd always throw out data points, and it resonated with people. And I wasn't one of those guys that chased deals. I found that over time, people have chased me. So I have an assistant here in Pasadena, and it's just me. And I outsell 99% of the agents out here, and I work 50 hours a week. I don't work crazy hours, but I think I do it very efficiently. And I want to make sure that, when I approach a client, I want to make sure that, they're motivated, because at the end of the day, motivated buyers and motivated sellers do deals. Everybody else is on the sidelines and they're looking and they're looky-loos. And so it's important to say the right things to figure out, if they're serious or not. And then you work with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to get into that as well, because, even when you're an investor on the investing side, when you're talking to sellers, you are looking for that motivation. We do mostly commercial, but we also do single family, and we have callers, call on these owners out there, and 99% of these owners we are not going to do a deal with because they're just not motivated, and they have to be truly motivated for us to want to move on them, because then there's room for us to actually execute our strategy, to actually go in there, flip the house, and do that. So we'll get to that later. You already mentioned that your team, this massive team of yours, is you and an assistant. And that I love to hear that, because so many people, me included, when you think about growing a business, you think about bringing all these people on board and all of the management headache that goes along with it. I am a huge believer in small teams. I think small teams perform better. And I think, it's just more enjoyable when you have a smaller team that is running, very efficiently and seeing success. So how, with the number of transactions you've done, obviously you've built really great processes in your business. So talk to us about how you are able to do the volume that you do with just you and the assistant working.
Well, one of the best books I've ever read. One of the best books I've ever read was it's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's from Gary Keller. Mm-hmm. They call it the Bible at least for residential real estate. And it was in the first few pages, there's this triangle, and it talks about listings, leads, and leverage. And that's what you need to really focus on. So for me, it was like, wow, listings. So what's that all about? And if you're a real estate agent and you're listening to this, you actually make more money usually, and you can control your time and your destiny and keep your headaches to a minimum if you focus on listings. But you get so busy, you need leverage, you need help. And of course, you need to feed the beast with leads. So those are the three things that I started focusing on about 20 years ago. My business just went straight up. It's been great. But in terms of, so I did the team thing. It was excruciating. It was a shit show every day. It was difficult. It was difficult to get people motivated. People seemed to feel that if they're on a team, it allowed them to take vacations and take off, and somebody will always fill in the gaps. And that's true. But you can't have everybody have that same mentality. And that happens a lot. And I think that if you look at the folks that have teams, they're constantly dumping people off the team and hiring new people. This is a constant thing, and for a good reason. It's because it's really tough to run a team. So I just didn't want headaches. I don't like headaches. This business is hard enough. So I just focused on listings, and I've got an assistant that I've had for 10 years, and he's fantastic. And then I also want to throw in that my wife helps me a lot. She does all the bill paying and stuff like that.
There you go. So you got a secret teammate in your pocket.
Yeah, secret teammate.
Awesome. So listings, leads. What was the third one you mentioned?
Leverage.
Got it.
Yeah.
Leverage being your team, being the people that you bring on.
Meaning having an assistant or having even a virtual assistant. But if you're out there, you're a real estate agent, and there's stuff that somebody could be doing for $20 an hour. Well, you need to start dumping that and making a list of the things that somebody else could be doing. Train them really well. You're gonna have so much more time on your hands. But in terms of like efficiency, in terms of how to do all of this, I mean, the simplest hack that I have is I use everything's on Google for me. Google Docs, Google Drive. We share everything. If I have this happens at least once a week. I'll have what I call a hot lead, maybe a potential seller. I'll send the address to my assistant, and he knows what to do. He builds a folder out of that. He'll pull the deed. He'll pull any historical information. He'll pull the tax information. He'll pull comps. He'll run the Zillow, Realtor.com, and the Redfin values, because I know that sellers look at that. So I want to know what those are.
Frustratingly so.
They'll run
We can talk
comps.
about that next, actually.
Yeah. And this is a 2-hour process for him, but all of a sudden I have all that information at my fingertips. I'm not going to waste my time doing all that stuff. That's for an assistant.
Yep. Yeah, and it is so easy to waste time. And it's not necessarily wasted time. It is time that is spent doing a thing, but to use your time very inefficiently with tasks that can, especially in real estate, can just pile up, because real estate is it's people and it's documents and it's numbers. That's all it is.
And it's shiny penny syndrome.
Yeah, yeah. It's so easy to get pulled down a little rabbit hole. But if you are trying to do it by yourself, and you're having to send out assignment agreements, purchase agreements, all these different documents that need to be signed, and you have to do your underwriting, you have to pull comps, you have to do get all the data together, and then do your marketing. It's all these small things that'll build up to where you're going to be underwater, and you're going to feel like you're getting progress done, but you're not really getting progress done, because you're not out there talking to people, you're not out there getting new deals done. And so being able to shift that work onto somebody else's plate that can help you grow really is important. So you mentioned Zillow values, and I just want to talk about that for a second, because as I mentioned, we also do single family. And we get super frustrated when we talk with sellers who have a property that is just trash. It's like the inside is garbage. And then the Zillow price says, I don't know how they come up with their values, but it'll say what essentially an ARV, or your after repair value, would be. So it'll say like $800,000, but that's what you get when you list it on the market when it is in good condition, and their property is in horrible condition. And so that's what they want. They want that 800 because they see Zillow. So being a realtor, how do you feel about Zillow, Redfin prices? Are they accurate? Do you think that they're accurate generally? Obviously there's going to be side cases. And then how do you deal with sellers when they look at that and they think this is the price that I should be getting?
Well, the thing about Zillow and Realtor.com values and Redfin values, I mean, it poses a very good argument why you need a real estate agent, because it's really confusing. I have a listing coming up where Zillow and Realtor both say it's worth $700,000. Zillow and Realtor and Redfin says it's worth a little over $1 million. I mean, it's kind of amazing. It's all over the board. The interesting thing about those services, and I don't know if you've noticed this before, but say you have a house, you own a house, and it's not on the market, and say Zillow says it's worth $800,000. The second you list it for $1 million, guess what happens to that Zestimate?
It says it's worth $1 million.
It goes to $1 million. Gee, that's interesting, isn't it?
That's funny.
I think, eventually I think AI will catch up, but they only have so much information. If you have a house where it doesn't really have much of a backyard, and it's all pool. And this is a house in San Marino I just looked at yesterday. The difference is $200,000. I mean, that's mass. That's a 10% difference, because the average sales price in San Marino is like a little over $2 million. And this house that I looked at for clients yesterday it's $200,000 off, and it's been on the market for 6 months. I mean, that's just the way it is. But Zillow doesn't know that, doesn't understand how all that stuff works. They also doesn't understand condition either. And they don't pull permits. As far as I know, they have like 50, 60 data points they use. I don't think it's smart enough to pull permits. Permits are hard enough to pull. I don't think they pull them.
So when you talk with a seller who is, they've seen the Zillow price overestimates their property's value by, say, 25%. How do you have that conversation with that seller?
It's not that hard. First of all, I want to find out what they're looking at. So oftentimes I'll say you've probably looked at the big three: Zillow, Realtor.com, and Redfin. And oftentimes they'll just say, yeah. And then oftentimes they'll say, yeah, it's all over the place. And I'm like, it is all over the place. Let's look at the actual sales comps. Let's look at what's going on. Let's look at the last sale that competes with yours and find out how many offers they had. That'll give you a very good idea of the market. If they had 10 offers and you got 9 buyers out there, ready to go for your house. Those are little extra steps that the realtors can make. I do this all the time before it. Usually if I can do it before a listing appointment, I'll find out the best comps that just sold. I'll call the realtors and ask them, how many offers did you have? They usually tell you. And it takes you 2 minutes to do that. Now you're the smartest guy in the world when you show up for that listing appointment.
There you go. All right. Originally, you'd mentioned, the big three. One of them was leads. So how, it all starts with getting in contact with sellers and having that conversation, for the investor side. We'd like to buy your property. Can we make you an offer? So how do you generate those leads from an agent side to really build your pipeline and bring in deals to you?
So you might not like this answer. I'll tell you. I've done the Facebook stuff. I've done the Google ads. I've run ads in the newspaper. I've done mailers. I still do mailers here and there. I still do a little bit of advertising. But all of my stuff is old-fashioned relationship building. I have breakfast and lunch with people as much as I possibly can and just chit chat, And this is the thing. I used to screw this up, and I would take people to really expensive lunches. And, you're out of the lunch, and people, you have to be careful because people will just go for the free lunch. So I'll call people, probate attorneys, trust attorneys, potential clients, let them know that I'm busy. I know they're busy. Do you have time for a half-hour lunch? I know where they work, and I'll find a place that's right around the corner from them. It's hard for them to say no. It's hard for them to say no to a half-hour thing, and it's easy on my pocketbook. And if all of a sudden they want to sit there and chit chat, and you can sit there for an hour and a half, great, but you're only out $40, $30, but it's face to face.
Yeah.
There's a book out there called The 7 Levels of Communication. It was written from this guy named Michael Mayer. And I'll give you the gist of the book. It just talks about relationship building. And you want to be influential when, as an agent, people like to work, they'll remember you if you're influential. They want to work with you if you're influential. And one way of not being influential is emails and social media posts and stuff. That's not that influential compared to face-to-face and voice-to-voice.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. Most realtors hide behind their computers. It's easier for them to shoot an email out and do stuff like that. That's easy. But picking up the phone, writing a note, and having lunch with people, that's what I do. It's old-fashioned. It's really boring. It's incredibly successful. I'm incredibly successful at it. Because guess what? No one else does it.
Yeah, there's nothing that can replace face-to-face communication. Doesn't matter how good social media gets, it's not going to replace good old-fashioned talking to a person, having a conversation. And people remember conversations more than they do tweets. So that's just the truth of it.
Well, get this too. They don't have to have lunch with you. You made you reached out to them. That's the whole thing. I mean, that's a really nice gesture. And then at the same time, know what to say. I mean, I talked about this earlier. You need to understand scripts. How can I help you with anything? Is there anything I could help you with? Do you know anybody that needs help anywhere in the world? I mean, we're an international brokerage. Once in a while, I'll get a lead for an international property, and I'll find a partner in that marketplace and get a referral fee. That's just the way our business works. But there's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah. Those having scripts is important. It's hard to nail down a good one, especially when, it'll change based on who you're talking with.
Sure.
But having a solid script and knowing what you're going to be saying makes the conversation flow a little bit easier. So I'm going to take that opportunity and move us on to the quick question round because we have gone through our 15 minutes. So you ready to rock?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Starts with books, any form of education. I need 2 recommendations. And I know you wrote your own book, so that couldn't be one of them. Give me 1 recommendation for general life wisdom and then 1 recommendation for real estate. Before we continue on with today's guest, I want to tell you guys about a community I'm launching on School to help investors like yourself grow your own portfolio. In this community, you'll get access to all the docs I use, all the systems I've built, everything I've used to grow my own portfolio, as well as instructions and guidance on how to get out there and find great deals, how to finance those deals, and then how to manage them for great returns. Since we're just launching it, the price will be set at a measly $20 per month, and whatever price you join at is the price you'll have for life. We will be increasing the price as the group grows, so if you're at all interested in growing your portfolio along other investors, now is the time to join. I will put the link somewhere in the bio or on our podcast website at therealestateinvestingclub.com, so if you are interested, head on over there. With that said, let's get back to the podcast.
I'm going to embarrass myself, but I just started rereading How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's a good one.
It's the original. It's 80 years old.
Yeah.
It's hokey and it's great.
Yeah. I never liked the title of that book, but the content is just bar none. It's like, it is truly a book about how to have good relationships. And it's one of the first like kind of self-help books that I read, and I still love it. It's a great book.
Yeah.
And then I know you wrote a book, so I'm going to have that be your real estate recommendation. Tell us what the book is. It seems like it's helped a lot of people. So tell us a little bit about the book you wrote.
So I've been selling for about 25 years, and there are just a lot of things that I didn't really care about that the industry was telling us to say to people. And it just, so much stuff seemed counterintuitive. The real estate sign, ads, the open houses, dual agency, hiring friends and family. So I did a deep dive into all the data from the National Association of Realtors. And I decided to write like a white paper. And I met a guy at a seminar, and he helps people publish books. And I came up to him and told him my idea for this. I thought maybe this could be a book, and he said this would be a fantastic book. So I was hoping to sell a few hundred copies. It sold 40,000 copies. It hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. I have brokerages that buy my book in bulk, ship me the box, ask me to sign them all, and then ship them back. It's been great. The thing is still selling. Not trying to peddle a book, but this will help people. It's called Seller Mistakes. It can be bought on Amazon. It's $15. And it just goes through all the mistakes that people usually make when they sell a house. For example, dual agency. I know that I'm going to piss a lot of people off about the dual agency thing. I know realtors like it because they make a lot of money. I actually make more money because I won't do dual agency. And that's something different that people need to hear. When you're competing on a listing and you show up to a seller's house and you explain to them right up front, by the way, I just want to let you know I won't represent a buyer in your transaction, and that's going to
that's what dual agency is.
That's actually going to make you more money. Yeah, if I have the buyer. I know it's different in the commercial realm, but in residential, actually, most of the time it will kill your sales price, and you'll never even know it, because if the agent that's representing the seller has a buyer, they have to disclose that to the marketplace. They have to tell the marketplace. If people are calling, they have to disclose that they have a buyer. Guess what? It just totally disincentivizes buyers from writing an offer on your property. And if you're disincentivizing the market, you're not going to get market price.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's other principles in there. It talks about how the real estate sign doesn't work, how it's about a 1% effectiveness rate, and how dangerous it is. Talk about open houses and how really effective and actually ineffective they are, and incredibly dangerous they are, not only for the seller, but the listing for the agent that's doing it. And it goes into a whole bunch of other stuff. I didn't think this thing would resonate. The reason why I wrote it, it took me 5 years. I always tell my kids, like, I made them finish Boy Scouts. They're both Eagle Scouts. I make them finish what they started, and they flipped the script on me, and they made me finish what I started. And it was the worst experience in my life of writing a book. I know I'm not supposed to say negative things about my book, but if you're a writer, you'll understand it's excruciating writing your own book, but it was well worth it. So I've been leaning on this for a long time now. It's been out for about 2 years. I get phone calls from people all the time saying, "Hey, I just found your book. I read it." I had a phone call a year ago from a guy in St. Louis that said he just read the book, and he was hoping maybe I would be thinking about moving to St. Louis because he wants me to sell his house. I mean, what a cool compliment.
That's funny. Yeah, books can be great sources of marketing, but it sounds like you've had a great impact on people as well. So if people wanted to get this book, it's called Seller Mistakes. Where can they find it?
Yeah, Seller Mistakes. Just go on Amazon, type in Seller Mistakes. It's got the yellow cover. You can also go to my website, michaelbbell.com, michaelbbell.com. And there's actually an audio book there for free. You don't have to sign up or anything like that. You don't have to give me your information. But if you want to listen to me for 3 hours, I'm going to give it to you for free.
There you go. All right. I'm going to move us on to the next question. This is for your younger self. So let's go back to the Michael who was just getting started so many years ago. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Get a coach. I should have gotten a coach. I should have spent $1,000 a month or $500 a month. I should have gotten a coach. I should have done this a long time ago. Get a coach.
Yeah,
I used to be really against all that stuff. And then I realized, Tiger Woods has 6 coaches. I'm sure Joe Biden has a ton of coaches. The top producers in the world have coaches. Yeah. Why wouldn't you have a coach? They're not that expensive.
Yeah, I've always been a huge proponent of mentorship, of coaching, if you can find a good one. The problem is finding a truly good coach, someone who can move your career forward. Do you have any pieces of advice on that end of actually finding someone that is, the appropriate number of steps ahead of you to where they can help you out?
My current coach for the last 5 years is a guy named Steve Scholl. And if you're in the real estate industry, you've heard of him. He's fantastic. You can find him. He was a captain for it was a football team, an NFL football team. Gosh, Dan Marino's team. Anyways, I can't remember. You can also go to Buffini or Ryan Ferry. There's actually it's quite an industry for residential realtors to find coaches. So just go online. There's a lot of free stuff out there. You go on YouTube and Brian Ferry gives out all of his coaching for free. It seems like you sit there and watch YouTubes over and over again. If you don't have the money, if you're just starting off, you should be on YouTube. You should be doing these trainings. Absolutely. You'd be stupid not to. And I'll tell you what really turned it for me. My younger brother is a fantastic chiropractor. He's in Portland, Oregon. And I remember 20 years ago, he had come back from a seminar, and I asked him, what was the seminar? And he goes, the seminar was on scripts. I'm like, scripts for chiropractors? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I see 30 to 40 people every day. I need to know what to say. I need to say the right thing. And, basically I'd say the same thing over and over again instead of trying to guess. And they taught me what to say. I thought, geez, if this guy is going to a seminar class on scripts for a whole weekend, most realtors won't do any of that stuff. So I'm in. You just need to, you don't say stupid things. Say smart things. Figure it out. Practice. Doctors do it. Yep.
Yeah, that is having a script. It's very important. And it's, as I mentioned, it's difficult to create your own one. So going to a seminar to help that out definitely would benefit you.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is generally oriented towards investors. So I'm going to skip that. We're going to go down to biggest lessons learned. Not every deal or transaction goes the way that we expect it. A lot of times a wrench is thrown into the mix and things go a little bit sideways, but that's when we learn our biggest lessons that we can take on to the next deal. So what was a deal or transaction that went a little bit sideways for you? And then what was the lesson you pulled from it?
The funny thing is they call this a practice because we are practicing. There's something new every day in this business. I think going into this business, if you're thinking that you know it all, you're going to be in trouble. You just have to be open to learning, open to pivoting, open to asking questions, open to saying that I don't know. Let me find out. Nothing wrong with that. For me, I'm in a big brokerage. So we've got the best legal help in the world, I think. Great management. So if there's something that's a wrench in there, well, most of the time stuff can get fixed. I mean, at the end of the day, in a real estate transaction, everybody has the same finish line. We all want to make it to the finish line. Usually, we all want to make it to the finish line. So,
Perfect.
Communication and being proactive. I mean, one of the things that I do in my business, when I get a listing signed, they also sign all the disclosures. I have the title done. I have as much as I possibly can have done. And then when it goes on the market and we field offers, I have the buyers sign all the disclosures. I don't force them to sign the disclosures. I just tell them everybody else is signing the disclosures. And then they sign everything. You just want to get as much of the roadblocks out of the way as possible. So I'm constantly being forward thinking. I'm constantly trying to be one step forward, one step ahead of everybody in the transaction. And it makes, for the most part, I alleviate most headaches. I mean, realtors have headaches all the time. I don't really have a lot of headaches on my transactions. I get it all done up front.
Yeah. If you follow the steps, it definitely cuts down on the number of headaches that you'll experience. So that brings us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you.
Sure.
This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Sure. I'd love to chat with people. Anybody, call me up. My cell phone is 626-354-8505. You can go to my website, michaelbbell.com, one big long word. All my contact information is there. I love to chat with people. I'm not afraid of the phone. If I'm too busy, I'll let you know and I can call you later. But yeah, text me. Yeah. Happy to help.
I will put that link in the show notes. So if y'all want to reach out, just click a little more and in the description. That'll pull down that full description. And in there, you can find Michael's link.
All right.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Gabe, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you want to support the show, just give us a like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. All right, before I officially sign off, I have a quick announcement to make. If you're interested in becoming a passive investor in one of my deals, my own company, Kaizen Properties, is looking for capital partners for our upcoming projects. We invest in what are known as recession-resistant assets, mainly self-storage facilities, mobile home and RV parks, and industrial properties. If you're interested in investing and would like to learn a little bit more about my company, our investing criteria, and some of the previous projects we've done, go to the Real Estate Investing Club podcast at therealestateinvestingclub.com and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. Click on the Invest With Us button. That'll pop up the investor form. Fill that out, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. Or if you prefer a little bit more of a personal touch, you can reach out to me at gabe@therealestateinvestingclub.com. So really, that is it. Again, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys during this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.